It's great to be here with Nick Whalen, our outstanding candidate for St. John's East. Nick and I were at the St. John's Regatta back in August, and I have to say, it's easy to see why people fall in love with this part of the country. The warmth, the friendliness, the hospitality, that's what makes Newfoundland so special. So other than Seamus O'Regan and possibly Ken MacDonald, I can't think of a better person to represent this city in Ottawa than Nick, someone who never stops working for this community and for the people around him. Nick, it is so fantastic to have you here on the team. My friends, in every election, we get to make an important choice about the future of our country. We get to decide what kind of future we want to build together. In 2015, after a decade of failed Conservative policy, Canada's economy was flat. Economic growth, job creation, wage growth, all were stalled thanks to a Conservative government that believed cuts and austerity were the answers to everything. Canadians chose a new team that was willing to invest in people and in their communities. And there's more work ahead of us than there is behind us, but we've spent the last 4 years moving forward. On a mis plus d'argent dans les poches des gens en baissant les impôts de la classe moyenne et en augmentant ceux du 1% les plus riches. On a renforcé le régime des pensions parce que dans un pays comme la nôtre, les aînés devraient pouvoir joindre les deux bouts. We reopened veterans' offices and invested in new resources to support the women and men who've served our country so bravely. These things are making a real difference in people's lives. And this fall, Canadians once again get to vote for the kind of Canada they want to live in. We've all got a choice to make. Keep moving forward and build on the progress we've made, or go back to the politics of the Harper years. Conservatives like to say they're for the people, but then they cut taxes for the wealthy and cut services, education, and support for kids. But Canadians know that you can't cut your way to prosperity. That's why we chose to move Canada forward by investing in families, in workers, and in communities. In 4 short years, Canadians have created over 1 million new jobs. We negotiated new health accords with the provinces and territories, including with Newfoundland and Labrador. And with the Canada Child Benefit, we're giving parents the help they need with hundreds of dollars tax-free every month. But we know there's still more work to do. Because right across the country, parents tell me that they're worried about how they're going to juggle a career and kids. Whether you've got a toddler or a teenager, it's on people's minds. And in those first few months with a new baby, when it's a struggle to get enough sleep, let alone get to the top of your game at work, it can be an even bigger concern. No one should have to choose between their paycheck and their family, a choice that, frankly, moms are still confronted with more than dads. People should be focused on spending time with their baby, not worrying about how they'll pay their bills. And so today, we're taking another big step forward. We're going to increase the Canada Child Benefit by 15% if you have kids under the age of 1. That means getting up to $1,000 more on top of what you're already receiving. And to give people more money up front, we're making maternity and parental benefits tax exempt at source. You'll get every dollar right when you need it, since no taxes will be taken off the EI check when new parents receive it. These new measures build on what we've already done for families. Whether that's the 5-week parental sharing benefits that help people take time as a family, or the more flexible parental leave so people can choose to spread their time off over 18 months. Grâce à ces nouveaux changements visant à exonérer d'impôts les prestations de maternité et les prestations parentales, les Québécois auront un avantage comparable pour la portion des impôts fédéraux qu'ils payent dans le cadre du régime québécois d'assurance parentale. Et pour que les congés payés soient plus équitables pour
the leave to be fairer for all families, will be giving parents who adopt kids a 15-week leave period, which means that those who choose to adopt will have $7,000 more in their pockets.
Leave fairer for all families. For adoptive parents, we're going to bring in a 15-week leave, which means an extra $7,000 for the average family claiming the new adoptive leave. This is progress that parents like Krista, who's here today with her daughter, can count on. And we're not done yet, because all of this is laying the groundwork to go even further. Within the first year of being back in office, we're going to start building a national system of guaranteed paid family leave. This will be an ambitious program to make sure that no one gets left behind. We're ensuring that parents who don't qualify for paid leave through EI, either because they don't have enough hours or whether they're an entrepreneur or self-employed, receive a guaranteed income in that crucial first year of a child's life. That means unprecedented options for parents, and it means cementing Canada's global leadership in support of families. Under a Liberal government, we will continue to invest in families like Krista and Piper. Because at the end of the day, politics is about people. It's about you. Maybe you're a recent grad, or maybe you're living your golden years out in retirement. Whoever you are, you deserve a real plan for your future. We've done a lot together these past 4 years, but the truth is, we're just getting started. So folks in St. John's and right across the country, you have an important choice to make. Will we go back to the failed policies of the past, or will we continue to move forward? That's the choice. It's that clear, and it's that important. I'm for moving forward for everyone, for families, for the middle class, and for all Canadians. Merci beaucoup tout le monde.
Canada to allow male sex offenders in women's prisons. There are women being assaulted in prison. There are women being taken out of shelters. Now there are women being raped in prison by men. And you personally forced the Correctional Service of Canada to override their policy. Why did you do that?
Thank you for your question, ma'am.
You can answer the question.
Okay. We make sure that Corrections Canada keeps the safety of all prisoners at the top of mind every step of the way. We do that in a way that is consistent with the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We will continue to apply all the necessary laws to keep Canadians and people in our corrections facilities safe. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, Mr. Trudeau. David Cochran with CBC News. This is the fourth policy announcement of this campaign where we've only gotten costing from the Liberal Party of Canada. We do not have any independent third-party costing, as the Conservatives have done by releasing the PBO costing. You changed the rules to allow the Parliamentary Budget Officer to do that costing. Why aren't you taking full advantage of it by releasing their costing in real time so Canadians can assess your promises?
We have made use of the Parliamentary Budget Officer's new powers to cost political parties' platforms. We've used them on a number of our platform announcements that will be forthcoming. We know it's important for Canadians to have objective review of the costs of various platforms, and I can assure you that the Parliamentary Budget Officer has been very much engaged by the Liberal Party on a number of elements within our platform costing, and when our full platform costing comes out in the coming weeks, that will be abundantly clear.
But why not release it, say, today? This is a promise worth in excess of $1 billion a year when fully implemented. Today, to properly assess it, it would be good to have the PBO's numbers.
We will have a full costing of the Liberal platform with all the great work done by the Parliamentary Budget Officer in due course. That is something that people expect and people want to have. Okay. Nous avons utilisé le directeur parlementaire du budget à plusieurs moments pour des éléments dans notre plateforme, et quand nous allons faire sortir notre plateforme au complet, ça va être très clair que nous avions utilisé. Nous sommes responsables dans notre façon d'approcher les coûts des différentes promesses.
About Mr. Bernier's inclusion in the televised leaders debate, both the Conservatives and New Democrats have very vigorously opposed this, giving him a platform for some of his more extreme views. Your party has been relatively quiet on this. Why do you agree with giving him a national televised audience?
I think we all remember that in the 2015 election, Stephen Harper and the Conservatives gamed the system to cherry pick which debates they wanted to do. And what that meant was there were no national network debates in English that Canadians could watch. That was part of the approach the Conservatives had to try and not have Canadians see these debates. We made a commitment in that election that we wouldn't let that happen again, that we would create an independent debate commissioner who would organize national debates, official national debates, and make determinations about the format, about who is included in an independent and responsible way. That is something that we committed to, and that is something we are actually moving forward on. That's what matters to Canadians, that we have the right kinds of debates. And we are pleased that the Independent Commission is doing its work. As for Mr. Bernier, I look forward to holding him to account publicly for his intolerant views, and I certainly hope all other leaders will do the same.
En français, juste sur M. Bernier.
Okay. Par rapport à M. Bernier, nous reconnaissons qu'on avait besoin d'une commission indépendante parce que le gouvernement de M. Harper avait joué avec les règles, avait choisi quel débat il voulait faire en anglais ou pas, et on avait besoin d'une commission indépendante qui a pris cette décision par rapport à qui sera dans les débats. Mais pour M. Bernier, j'ai certainement l'intention d'exprimer mon désaccord avec ces perspectives intolérantes et j'espère que tous les autres chefs feront de même.
Sur la GRC et l'arrestation de M. Ortiz, on a découvert qu'il y avait des informations qui auraient pu causer des dommages dévastateurs au Canada et à ses alliés. Est-ce que vous êtes inquiet? Qu'est-ce que vous pouvez dire aux Canadiens pour les rassurer?
Nous prenons cette situation extrêmement au sérieux et je peux vous assurer que toutes les autorités sont en train de travailler d'arrache-pied sur ce dossier. C'est un dossier important pour nous au Canada, mais effectivement pour nos alliés aussi. Mais vous comprendrez que c'est une situation très délicate et je ne peux pas faire d'autres commentaires là-dessus.
Mais en même temps, d'un point de vue de sécurité, il y a nos alliés, les Five Eyes, qui vont s'inquiéter de savoir qu'on avait ici possiblement quelqu'un qui aurait pu partager de l'information hyper confidentielle, pas juste pour nous, pour les autres alliés. Qu'est-ce que vous dites pour rassurer ces gens-là?
On est en communication directe avec nos partenaires en matière de sécurité à travers le monde, pas juste les Five Eyes, mais d'autres aussi. Et on est en train de travailler avec eux pour les rassurer. Et on est en train de travailler avec eux pour s'assurer que tout le monde comprend qu'on est en train de prendre cette situation extrêmement au sérieux. We are continuing to work with our Five Eyes allies on this matter, which the authorities are taking extremely seriously. But you'll understand that I'm not going to make more comments on this delicate situation.
Good morning, Teresa Wright, the Canadian Press. There was another shooting at a mall yesterday in Alberta. I know you've said that you're waiting to announce your gun control measures, but don't you think that's a little tone deaf? There was a 17-year-old boy who was killed last week. Why not tell Canadians today what your plan is going to be?
We moved forward. We did not wait for this election campaign. We moved forward concretely on strengthening gun control measures over the past 4 years. We made significant commitments in our 2015 election platform on gun control and keeping communities safe, and we fulfilled those commitments. Unfortunately, the Conservatives have already announced that they're going to be rolling back that strengthening of gun legislation in a return to the Harper years that I know nobody wants. Further, we are going to be putting forward the next steps that a Canadian Liberal government will take on keeping our communities safe and strengthening gun control. I look forward to talking about that in the coming weeks. But obviously, our hearts go out to all the families who've been affected by this gun violence that we've seen across the country. We need to do more, and that is why our Liberal Party is going to be doing more, and I encourage all other parties, including the Conservatives, to begin to take gun control and the safety of our communities seriously instead of promising to walk back the changes we already made and not make further changes.
Prime Minister, we're here in Atlantic Canada today. There is a feeling among many Atlantic Canadians that Your government has taken the region for granted after giving you all 32 seats in the region. What would you do differently if re-elected to show that you care about Atlantic Canada as a priority and not just at election time?
I think if you talk to many Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, they'll talk to you about the fact that we renewed the historic Atlantic Accords just not a few months ago. That was something extremely important to Atlantic Canadians, and they remember well how Stephen Harper betrayed Atlantic Canada and broke his promises on that. That's why we were so pleased to work with Dwight Ball and the government in Newfoundland to ensure that we could move forward in a way that was fair and supportive of all Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, and why we're going to continue to work on priorities for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians like rate mitigation. We've committed to continue to work with the Premier and his government to ensure that cost of living in Newfoundland and Labrador remains affordable. We're going to continue to work right across the Atlantic provinces. Our Atlantic growth strategy has demonstrated investments in immigration, in infrastructure, in real partnership with the Atlantic provinces that has continued to make a difference, and I am so proud to be standing with such strong Atlantic Canadians who've been great voices for their communities in Ottawa. Nous avons toujours travaillé avec les provinces d'Atlantique sur bien des priorités. Ici, à Terre-Neuve et Labrador, on a réglé des problèmes que M. Harper nous avait laissés, où il avait trahi les gens d'ici. Nous allons continuer de travailler avec les provinces de l'Atlantique sur l'infrastructure, sur l'immigration, sur la croissance économique. Je suis très fier de l'équipe extrêmement forte que nous avons au Canada d'Atlantique, et on va continuer de travailler avec eux.
Good morning, Prime Minister. David Aiken from Global News. A poll question, and not the kind of poll question you're expecting, because I know the only poll that matters is in a few weeks. We've seen any number of polls which show a trend over the summer, which is a pretty divided country. You and your party very popular, Ontario and Eastern Canada, and another party very popular in Western Canada. It seems to be hardening, and it's reflecting in the debate, and you've really been going hard at conservatives and conservative premiers. In the last campaign, you talked about conservatives are our neighbors. We need to reach out to them. So how do we bridge this east-west gap, this urban-rural gap? What are your thoughts on, once the election's over, taking it down a notch?
On the very first day of the campaign, I was in Western Canada, in BC, to launch my campaign. The very next day, I stopped in Edmonton to talk with Albertans about how important Alberta is. People in Newfoundland know that Alberta has been an essential partner and creator of wealth for all Canadians over many, many years. And as they face difficult times, as Newfoundlanders have faced difficult times with the price of oil recently, the rest of Canada has stepped up and been there for Western Canada, as we are for every corner of the country. We're going to continue to do that. We've stepped up in meaningful ways, like buying the Trans Mountain pipeline expansion to ensure that it actually gets built, because that is something that matters to Western Canadians. And in regards to Conservatives, let me be very clear. I was praising a number of Conservative leaders, former Conservative leaders who were essential as a part of Team Canada when we successfully renegotiated NAFTA. You can know that when Canadians speak with one perspective, with different voices from across the ideological spectrum, but with a united message to American Congress, to American governors, to American partners on what matters to Canada, the country comes together. And that was a great example of people from across the spectrum working together on something that matters for Canada. Unfortunately, we see a specific group of Conservative politicians now who deny climate change, who are dragging their heels on infrastructure investments, who are playing divisive games and bringing up the specter of Canadian unity once again, or Canadian disunity once again, for short-term political gain. I will make no apologies for standing up strongly for the unity of the country, but I will also do that in a way that continues to invest in Alberta, in Saskatchewan, in every corner of the country, because we know that this country only works when we work together.
I've got an Atlantic Canada question too, mostly thinking ahead to our next stop in Prince Edward Island. There's a lot of islanders that go, why do I have to pay $45 to get across the Confederation Bridge when Montrealers who commute across the federally funded Champlain Bridge don't pay a dime? It seems like a real double standard there. It's a free bridge for Quebecers, and Islanders are getting stuck with a big bill every time they commute. Will you commit to eliminating the toll for Islanders at the Confederation Bridge?
The Samuel de Champlain Bridge was a replacement bridge. The Confederation Bridge was a new bridge that was built with the tolls as part of the financing.
Good morning, Michelle Zilio with the Globe and Mail. There's been discussion across the world about some countries, including Germany, offering asylum to protesters in Hong Kong. Would your government offer asylum or permanent residence to Hong Kong protesters?
We have 300,000 Canadians who live in Hong Kong right now. Our first priority and our first concern is for those Canadians who are very concerned about the unrest in Hong Kong right now. That's why we continue to call for peace. We continue to call for de-escalation, for an end to violence, and positive dialogue between the authorities and the protesters. We are very concerned about everyone in Hong Kong, but particularly concerned about those 300,000 Canadians who live in Hong Kong.
With all due respect, you're not answering the question, Prime Minister. Would you offer asylum to protesters in Hong Kong?
We're going to focus on the 300,000 Canadians, which is more than citizens of any other country in Hong Kong. And we will always look, as we do, at ways we can help people around the world who are fleeing violence and persecution. Canada is one of the countries that takes in the largest number of asylum seekers from around the world. And we do it because we have a strong immigration system that Canadians can rely on. Canadians have confidence in our immigration system. We're going to continue to live true to our values and make sure that we continue to be a safe and welcoming country. Okay. Par rapport à Hong Kong, nous suivons attentivement tout ce qui se passe et nous appelons évidemment pour le calme, pour moins de violence, pour du dialogue. Mais notre première préoccupation, c'est pour les 300 000 Canadiens qui vivent actuellement à Hong Kong. C'est plus que n'importe quel autre pays et donc nous sommes très préoccupés par leur sécurité. Mais évidemment, nous sommes un pays qui accueille des réfugiés de partout dans le monde de façon ordonnée et réglementée. Nous allons continuer d'être fidèles à nos valeurs.
Michael Connors, NTV. Further to your comments on rate mitigation, the provincial government's rate mitigation plan specifically calls for $200 million annually from the federal government. Are you committed to providing $200 million annually to offset power rates here?
We've had excellent conversations with Premier Ball on this. We're continuing to work with him. I can tell Newfoundlanders and Labradorians that a federal Liberal government will continue to be there for you, to be there as a partner on the challenges you're facing. We were there to resolve the Atlantic Accords. We will be there to support on rate mitigation, and I can tell you that we're working very hard on that, and we'll continue to work very hard on that with Dwight Ball.
Sorry, specifically on the 200 million, that number, like whether it's to refinancing the loans or through actual cash, are you committed to that number?
We are committed to resolving the issue of rate mitigation in a way that works for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. Okay. Nous nous sommes engagés à travailler avec le gouvernement de Terre-Neuve et Labrador pour régler cette question de façon positive pour tout le monde.
From the Telegram. 4 years ago, when you were here, you committed to providing money for the Riverhead wastewater facility and other wastewater infrastructure projects in this province. 4 years later, we're standing here, and there doesn't seem to be any progress towards that. What can you say about another commitment, perhaps, on federal wastewater?
There have been very positive conversations going on with local mayors. There have been some challenges from the municipal side, but we continue to be committed to working in partnership with municipalities and the province to settle this issue. We know that investing in infrastructure, particularly in things like wastewater, is essential to growing communities like St. John's. We're going to continue to make that choice that Conservatives didn't make. We made the choice to invest in communities, in people, in infrastructure when Conservatives promised cuts and austerity. Well, that's what they're promising once again, to balance the budget at all costs, which we know means cuts to services and usually benefits to the wealthiest Canadians. That's the Conservative approach. That was the Stephen Harper approach. We have a different approach of investing as partners with municipalities in essential infrastructure, and we look forward to continue to work on getting that new wastewater facility for St. John's. Nous allons continuer de travailler avec les municipalités pour livrer sur le traitement des eaux usées. Nous savons que c'est une priorité pour la province, pour les municipalités. Nous avons eu de bonnes conversations avec les municipalités. St. John's a quelques hésitations, mais on va continuer de travailler avec eux parce qu'on veut livrer. Mais en même temps, nous soulignons que d'abord, le gouvernement fédéral doit être partenaire aux municipalités. Et deuxièmement, nous reconnaissons que nous avons fait un choix différent des autres partis, particulièrement le Parti conservateur, qui a choisi l'austérité et les coupures plutôt que d'investir. Nous allons continuer d'investir dans les infrastructures nécessaires à travers le pays et on a bien hâte de régler cet enjeu et de pouvoir investir dans le traitement des eaux usées ici à St. John's.
Pay for half of the 50% funding threshold. Right now, with negotiations going on, we're not at the 50%. Would you commit to the 50% funding threshold?
We made that commitment to 50% off the very top, and we are still committed to that amount of money. Merci beaucoup. Merci tout le monde.
Thank you very much.